Hey, what's up guys? I'm BTC. There's conspiracy theories in the SR and the ranked ladder. How does matchmaking work, and does one-tricking still get you extra points? Before I go into the matchmaking, the hidden MMR, and the one-trick stuff, there's another issue that I need to quickly address. And that is, anytime stuff like this comes out, or a bug or a glitch, or any problems with Overwatch just in general, there are always going to be those people that are high profile in the Overwatch community who instantly rush to Blizzard's defense no matter what. I'm not one of those. And for those of you who have been watching my channel for a long time, you know that's true. I treat Blizzard the same way that I would treat anyone else. If they do something right, I say, that's good, and I applaud them. And if they do something bad, I point it out and say, that's dumb. And when it comes to the matchmaking system in Overwatch, Blizzard has had quite a few that's dumb moments. And with that out of the way, the main question that's been going around for the last day or two is, does the matchmaking system in Overwatch specifically try to put you into games where you will lose? Now, there was a pretty lengthy post about this, and there's been other posts that are trying to refute it. The problem with all of it is that there is a tremendous amount of guesswork and just conjecture in it. So rather than just going through that, I'm going to show you what Blizzard has actually done and what has actually happened to the matchmaking system in an attempt to try to clear all of this up. So the basic idea for the competitive ladder, whether it's Overwatch or any other game, is that if you have a positive win rate, your rank should go up, and if you have a negative win rate, your rank should go down. Now, what that means is if you have a positive win rate, it's 51% and above. Negative win rate is 49% and below. If your win rate is even at 50%, wins and losses, then you basically just stay where you are. The problem with Overwatch is this isn't actually always the case. There have been quite a few times in the past, and it might actually be happening right now as well, when certain characters are experiencing problems with their SR gains and losses. Most notably, it happened with the support characters. They could have a positive win rate, and yet they still would fall on the ladder. And this was later fixed, and here's a post from Jeff Kaplan confirming that this was in fact an issue, and that they took steps in order to resolve it. Now, for the most part, it was fixed, but I'm hearing rumors that it might actually be a problem again. Maybe not as severe as it once was, but that certain support characters are in fact getting slightly lower than what they should be for the SR gains. So that's an example of people with positive win rates who are still losing rank on the ladder. And then of course we had the whole fiasco with the one-tricks in Season 5, which was the exact opposite. What happened there was people who one-tricked could still climb the ladder even if they had an incredibly bad negative win rate. The most extreme example of this was a Sombra one-trick who managed to climb all the way to Grandmaster with only a 30% win rate. And for proof, here's a screenshot from the Season 6 patch notes. It says, "We've also adjusted the calculations that determine how much skill rating players will gain after a win and lose after a loss. These changes should help address some of the anomalies players have been reporting, especially with heroes with the lower win rates. We'll continue tuning this system and are committed to making additional changes so that players are encouraged to play the hero they feel gives their team the best chance to win a competitive match." And they had to change this because Season 5, the one trick, was really problematic. And that's because people knew that even though they might lose this particular match because they refused to switch off of the character, they knew that the end result, the overall result, was that they were still going to climb the ladder as long as they never switched off that one particular character. And that was really bad. Now, while the major parts of this issue have been resolved, there is still some of the residual effects of this that are still in the game and still affecting the matchmaking system. We'll get back to that in just a second. So the next thing is, does the matchmaking system try to put you somewhere where it believes you're supposed to be? And the answer to that is yes, it absolutely does. We don't know the full effect of this, but we do know for an absolute fact that the matchmaking system does try to steer your account to where it thinks you belong. And this is not conspiracy theory stuff. This is stuff that Blizzard has explicitly told us and explained in numerous forum posts. Here's another post from Jeff Kaplan on the official Overwatch forums. It's kind of a long post, and it's in regard to smurfing. I'm only going to read you the relevant part. He says, for example, a few weeks ago, one of the pro Overwatch players created a Smurf account and was streaming from it. We were able to watch his MMR internally and compare it against his main account. Within 15 games, the MMRs were equal. I know there is a bad perception of smurfing, but the reality is skilled players are moved rapidly out of lower skill brackets. Now, there are other posts about this as well, but the essential breakdown is the matchmaking system tries to put you where it thinks you belong, and that's based on how well you play in the game. So if you play really well and you far exceed the average, it's going to give you more points at the end of the match. And I've seen certain players who are top 500 players, they win a single match and they get like 100 points or more. And that's because they significantly outperformed everything else, and the game is saying, okay, you are not supposed to be in this bracket, you need to be way up there. Now that's kind of an extreme example, but the gist of it is, if you play above the average, then you're going to get more points for a win, and you're going to lose less for a loss. And the reverse is true as well. If you play well below the average, then you lose more points for a loss, and you don't gain quite as much for a win. So how does Blizzard determine if you played above average? Well, we don't actually know. It's not just as simple as, oh, you have more eliminations than average and therefore you should go up. That's not the case. There's a lot more factors that go into it. Who was on your team? Who was on the enemy team? What map were you playing? I mean, there's a ton of different factors that go into determining whether or not you played above average or below average. So you can't just look at, oh, I have, gold medal for limbs and therefore I should be gaining more. That's just not the case. We don't know because Blizzard isn't telling us, and the reason why they're not telling us is because if players knew, then they would try to abuse it. Now, unfortunately, there does seem to be some of the one-trick problem that still remains in the matchmaking system. Now, you don't have to play the same character every single game, but it does seem that the matchmaking system will reward you for playing only one character for the entire duration of a single game. So you could play a different character every single match. As long as you only play that one character, the system will benefit you. And the reason for this is because it seems to compare your stats in that game against the average player for a full game. So let's say you play Genji for the first half of the match and Mercy for the second half. Now, I'm going to make this really simplistic. I know I'm kind of contradicting what I said earlier, but I'm just going to keep it simple for the sake of the example. So let's say the average player on Genji at that rank gets 40 eliminations per match. Well, this player only got 20, but that should be where he is because he only played half of the match as Genji. So he actually is right on track with where the average player should be. But from what it seems, the matchmaking system doesn't see it that way. Instead, it looks at your 20 elims and says, oh wow, you did way worse than what you should have been. Like, even though you only played half of the match as Genji, it still counts it as if you should have gotten to that 40 mark. And the same thing goes with Mercy. Let's say you were supposed to get 20,000 healing, but you only managed to get 10,000. Well, you're still on par with what should be average, but again, the system doesn't seem to see it that way. So is the matchmaking system trying to steer you where it thinks you belong? The answer is yes, it absolutely does. It will give you more or less points at the end of a match. And aside from some problems that have happened in the past, with certain characters getting less than what they should, or other characters getting way more than they should, for the most part, if you're winning your matches and you have a positive win rate, then you should be climbing the ladder. If you're not doing so good and you're losing most of your matches, then you should be going down on the ladder. Now, of course, this doesn't take into account the fact that a significant number of losses are the result of people who are throwing or who are leaving, but that is an entirely different issue. Now, there is definitely some problems and some flaws in the matchmaking system where it's trying to steer you to where it thinks you should be, and that's because the averages that it's comparing you against don't really match up with the amount of time that you've been playing in the game. So it's not a complete one-to-one, and because of that, the extra points that you should gain or lose aren't always as accurate as they should be, and it does in fact favor one-tricks still to this day. But is the matchmaking system trying to intentionally put you into matches where it's giving you a very likely chance to lose? I don't think so. Again, this is a little bit of guesswork on my part, and I have definitely, again, had many of those Blizzard that's dumb moments, but I don't think this is one of them. I don't think, even for a second, that Blizzard would intentionally put you into matches where it's trying to make you lose. I just don't believe that. I do think that it's very clear that the bonus points, the system that the matchmaker uses, is flawed, no doubt about that. But I definitely don't think that Blizzard is intentionally trying to make you lose matches in order to drop your rank. I just don't see it. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, all that stuff. The links are down below. Thanks for watching. Remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.